Good afternoon, everyone, and thanks for joining us live on the Trade Decorator Festival. This afternoon, we're live with Jon Mears from Andura, and this webinar is for you if you're looking at how to grow your business. Jon's going to be showing you some things on how to get bigger and better customers for your decorating business. Now, Jon is actually live in the session here on Crowdcast. If you want to comment in the comments box and say hi, please do so. If you have a specific question for Jon, please can I ask you to hit the ask a question key and type your question in there, and that way we can make sure that we keep track of the session and Jon can answer your questions as we go along. So here is the webinar.
Hello and thank you for joining me. My name's Jon Mears and I work for Andura Coatings. Today we're going to be doing a quick session with you guys, probably going to be about half an hour or so, where we're going to talk about one of the biggest questions that painters and decorators come to me with, and that is how to target bigger and better customers. It's a big topic and there's lots of things that we need to dive into, and I appreciate if you're watching this live, then it is the middle of the day, so we're going to try and keep this nice and quick and just try and pack it full with as much value as possible for you so that you can get as much as you can out of it and then get back to your day. So once again, thank you very much for joining us, and let's get on. So the first step in our process, and this is going to be a 5-step process to getting bigger and better customers, and that is to identify your target customer. And you need to be very specific on this. So a lot of times when people come to me and they say they want to work for bigger or better customers, they leave it as it's very broad, and they don't quite understand the importance of being specific and knowing exactly who you are targeting. So we need to ask ourselves quite a few questions here to try and really drill down onto who we want, what our dream customer looks like, and then we can start building a marketing plan that's going to attract these people and that's going to get, start some conversations with them. So the first thing we need to do is we need to decide, are we looking for more residential customers, perhaps higher end residential customers, or are we looking to go commercial and more business to business route, and perhaps working alongside other companies. So if we are looking for a business to business setup, B2B, we want to work with other companies, then we need to start getting more specific on that. So do we want to work with building companies? Do we want local building companies or national building companies? Do we want to work with architects or specifiers or interior designers? You need to ask yourself these questions and really try and establish exactly who it is you're after, because that's going to help us to build a plan so that we can target these specific people. So think about what you want to do, who you want to work with, and what sort of projects you want to work with. If you're thinking about working with building companies or maybe new build companies, do you want to work for building companies that specialize in, residential work, maybe extensions and things like that? Is it more large commercial projects? Do you want to work for companies that specialize in hotels and hospitality? There's lots of different things you need to think about, if it's just standard new builds or whether you want to specifically work in luxury apartments. The more specific you can get, the easier it will be to find that niche and to find your customers. One of the most difficult things that a lot of people come up against is they try and cast their net too wide. They think they try and be everything to everyone, and that really just doesn't work. You need to know exactly who you're after and target these people specifically, and then give them a level of service that nobody else does. So that's if we want to do the business to business side of things. So what if we want to go to more the residential side of things? And this is a very good route to go down, in my opinion. I think although the work on commercial side of things, you might have bigger, longer term contracts, the profitability on residential work can often be better, and it's much better for cash flow, especially if you're just starting out. Now, what we need to do now is we need to try and work out who's our dream customer, and build a customer profile, a customer avatar. You may have heard it before, an ICP, an ideal customer profile. This is essentially where we try and build an avatar, a vision of what we think our perfect customer look like. And you'll need to ask yourself lots of questions and decide on this. So first, think about how old are they? What sort of job do they do? Are they retired? So are they sort of 40, 50 years old and a professional working couple? Are they slightly older? Are they retired? Think about whereabouts they live. Do they live in your hometown? Are they in surrounding villages? Are there pockets of your hometown that are more affluent than others? And it might be a case of you drawing on your previous experience and thinking about who are those customers that you worked for and you just thought, you walked out of the job and you thought, you know, if every customer could be like that, it would be perfect. Think about who that was and then try and identify what was it about them, you know, what were their characteristics, what were their features, you know, what made working for them so pleasant, you know, how old were they, what sort of career were they in, where did they live. Try and build this up, try and really understand who your target customer is. And once we know who they are, where they live and what sort of things they're interested in and where they hang out, we can start building a marketing plan which can really zero in and focus on finding you more and more of these customers, which is exactly what we're trying to do. We're trying to find you the customers that are best for your company so that you can become more profitable. Okay, so the next phase is something that I call building a list. Now, again, we're going to have to split this into business to business and B2C, business to consumer or residential side of things. So if we start with the business to business angle, so let's say we have decided that we want to work with building companies. What you need to do now is you need to build up a list, and I would suggest that this list is about 50 people, 50 companies. You build up a list of 50 potential customers for you, 50 people that you could work with. Now, how do we do this? We need to use all the tools that are available to us. So in most of my previous roles and my current role, I'm always working on a business to business level. So I am always trying to find businesses that I think would benefit from my products and my services. So these are all tactics and techniques that I use on a daily basis. So the first thing, very obvious, is to get straight onto Google. If you're looking for a local building company or an architect or something like that, they should or very likely have their own website, or you will be able to find something about them online. So go onto Google, start looking, and the biggest tips I can give you is don't just read the first page and then give up. You know, you want to look at page 2, 3, 4, look at 10, 15 pages. You might find buried in there further and further down the list are, you know, companies that you can work with. They're only further down the list because they're less tech savvy. That doesn't mean they won't be a great customer to work for. And also it means that you're making it so that if you're the only one willing to go 15 pages into Google to find them, they probably aren't getting a lot of other offers of people like yourself. So I think that's a really good option and a really good way to start things off. And the other thing is at the bottom of each page on Google, you will have the alternative searches. Make sure you click on all of these, and you know, it could just be tweaking a word here or there, or just bring up a whole new list of potential customers. So once you've gone through that, you then need to get a bit more creative. So you might go onto social media. I would suggest with things like Facebook, you can search for businesses and see if they've got business pages. I would also look at Facebook groups. If you're looking for building companies, there are more than likely several large Facebook groups built for building companies, and you will find a lot of your target customers within there. And then you want to look at more creative ways. So think about Twitter and Instagram and how that system works. Think about who might your target customer already be following on social media? So if it's a building company, they're probably going to be following builders merchants. So if you've got a local builders merchant, you might look for them, and you might find that company and then have a look at their list of followers and see, you might have loads and loads of potential customers in there. Start following them in there and start finding details from there. Similarly, you might find that they're following national building chains like Travis Perkins or something like that. You know, have a look, get creative, think about, where are my customers likely to be online? Who's already congregated loads of my ideal customers? You know, like Travis Perkins will already be followed by hundreds, if not thousands, of building companies. So get in there and use it for your advantage. And then also think about, where do these companies advertise? They're probably already advertising. So you might find local parish magazines, local newspapers and stuff. They'll probably have adverts in there. Are there any trade magazines for what you're looking at? Very likely, and you'll find more potential customers in there. So think about all these different angles, and you know, there's so many ways that you can find them on social media nowadays. If you're not on LinkedIn, you can search on LinkedIn, you can search for businesses, you can search for people with specific business job roles. So get creative and use as many techniques as you can, and then try and build up this list of 50 people, 50 companies that we are ultimately going to go, this is our target list, these are all potential dream customers, let's target them. So that's what we do if we're looking to build a business to business list. But what if we're looking to build loads of customers in the residential market? Well, this is it's slightly different. You know, Mrs. Jones is very unlikely to have her own website, so we have to think differently about how we're going to find these people. And this is where we talk about, like I just said, it's thinking about, where might these people already be? Who might have already congregated these people for me, and then I can jump in and find them there. So think about, again, if we go to Facebook groups, your local town or your surrounding villages, now that we know where our target customer lives, we can start looking for Facebook groups with that town or village in the name. And if it's anything like where I live, there are 3 or 4 groups specifically for local people in my town, each with a couple of thousand people in. You will find that all across the country. So you can join these groups and start finding people that are already in your target area, and then we can start working on it like that. Think about, who might they already follow on different social media platforms? Have you got a local coffee shop or local, could be even like a takeaway pizza place, you know, a local establishment that's already got a large following on social media of local customers that could potentially be, you know, great for you and your business. Think about these things. Think about the magazines they read. Do they get parish magazines? Where are they already hanging out on social media? Think about all these things and try and build up a list, again, of about 50 people, and this will be 50 groups or people that have already got followings that might fit your target customer. So think about this and try and build up loads of places, about 50 different groups and things like that, where your customers will already be, and then you can start working on, okay, how are we going to start getting their attention? And this is the next part, the next stage. Stage 3 is to work the list. Now, again, we'll start with how we do this in a business to business sense. What you need to do is, now you have your list of 50 customers, 50 targets, you need to start systematically working your way through this list. Now, calling on and reaching out to all of these people is a daunting task, and a lot of people don't like it. And because of this, it's very difficult to motivate yourself to do it. So you will always find a reason not to start calling potential customers. But for this exact reason, this is why I always say you must block out time on your calendar to do it. Block out the time, make that appointment with yourself. I do this. I have blocks in my calendar where it's specifically for prospecting and calling potential new customers, and I do this at least once a week, and I have that appointment. It's in my diary, and during that time everybody knows that you don't put phone calls through to me from the office. You don't do anything that might distract me. Treat it as this is a meeting, and it's one of the, it is probably the most important meeting you'll have all week, because this is what's going to grow and build your business and find you more and more and more of your dream customer. So we block out that time, and now what do we need to do? We need to start calling through that list. So you've got 50 people on your list. Now you need to be aware that if you call 50 people, and I would suggest doing this in a sort of 90-minute block, you call 50 people, 40 probably won't answer the phone, or it will go to voicemail. 5 will say they're not that interested, and 5 will either want to take it further or ask for a bit more information or something like that. So we need to do this every week, because every week we're going to follow up and keep processing and keep going with this same batch of people, and we're going to work this list until we've got through to everybody, we've introduced ourselves to everybody, and we can establish whether these are a good fit for us and our business. So set that time weekly, block it out, and start calling through the list. Now this is what we do on the business to business side of things, and like I say, I would block out at least 60 minutes, 90 minutes would be preferable. Block it out in your calendar. Now of course, if we're trying to target more residential customers, Mr. and Mrs. Jones, we can't do this. We can't just cold call. We don't have phone numbers or anything for them, because they don't have websites and they don't advertise their business in magazines or anything like that. So how do we get the attention of our dream customers if they're in a residential space? Now what we do here is we have to target them in a slightly different way. So we've already built up our groups. We know where they are, who they're already following on social media. We know what local newspapers and parish magazines and stuff they get. We know where they live. So we build this into a targeted marketing campaign. Now what we're going to do is we're not going to use any one specific method. Marketing for me is using all the tools available possible. So a lot of people will talk about just using social media or just doing leaflets or anything like that. For me, you need to use every tool available. You wouldn't walk into a painting and decorating job with just a brush. You need all of the tools to be able to do the job properly, and this is what you need to do if you want to really target bigger and better customers and grow your company and make it more and more profitable and make it a more enjoyable place to work. So what we're going to do to find these residential customers is, firstly, we will do some social media work, and what we'll do here is we will go into the groups that we've identified as having lots of our target customers. So these might be local groups, and we're not going to barge in there and start blasting about all of our products and services and everything like that. That's not what we're doing here. What we want to do is we want to start building a name for ourselves. So we go into the groups and we think about, how can I give? How can I help people in this group? Can I answer some of the questions that are often coming up? Now, you might find that there's lots of people asking for tips on DIY. What's the best paint to use for this? How would I prepare this surface? It may sound counterintuitive for you as a painter and decorator to start answering it and helping people do DIY, but you need to understand that if people are going to do it themselves, they're going to do it themselves. The best you can get out of this situation is to help them to do it correctly and make them understand exactly what goes into doing a job properly, and use the opportunity and use social media to educate as many people as you can the proper processes and the skill that goes into your profession. And if you keep doing this on a consistent basis, and this could be, instead of doing a 90-minute block, I would suggest doing 10 or 15 minutes a day on social media, and just go through your feed and look in your local groups and just see, where can I help? How can I give out information here? And what this will do is, over time, you will start to build up a name and a reputation in the local area. If you help someone out with some DIY they're doing, or make them understand, to educate people on things, okay, they're not going to buy from you. But the next time someone says, can you recommend a painter and decorator, that person is going to say, oh yes, I was speaking to such and such decorators the other day, they really helped me out, he really knows what he's doing, you should try him. And you'll also have everybody else on the group who saw this interaction. They will know who you are, and you might have helped them in 100 other different things just by, using your local knowledge, or you might be able to recommend local joiners and plasterers and things like that. There's a lot that you will have to offer to the local people, and once you start doing this on a consistent basis, and people start seeing, Dave's Decorators popping up on their feeds more and more and more, everybody's going to know who you are, and it's going to present you with a lot more opportunities for work. Now, this is what we'll do on social media, in the Facebook groups, but you've also got the other things that you should look at. So, Twitter, Instagram is getting massive at the moment. And that again will be, think about who your ideal customers are already following, and start finding them and following them as well, and start doing the same thing. Comment on their posts, see how much value you can offer to them, and sure, you can put an advert for your business on your feed every now and then, but as a rule, I would keep it as, for every 4 posts that you put on social media, 3 should be giving people some value, and then 1 should be you asking, telling people about your business and if you can do some work for them. So think about those. That'll be your social media angle. Now, we'd also want to back this up with something physical. Now, we've established whereabouts our dream customers live. It might be certain pockets in your hometown or city that's more affluent, or that you've previously done work, and all the customers you've worked for in this area are great to work for, and I really appreciate the value of what you do. So we could back this up with a leafleting campaign in those specific areas. There's no point wasting leaflets just by going round and round and round town, throwing it through everybody's door, if it's not going to be the sort of customer you're after. So do physical campaigns like that, and think about, can I put something in a local parish magazine? And you've got to think about it as you're constantly becoming front of mind for everybody in your local town. It's going to be, Dave's Decorators. Oh, I see him on social media a lot. He's always really friendly and helpful. Oh, and then I had a leaflet through about him. Oh, and then I saw his business card in the local decorators merchant. Oh, and then I saw his advert in the local parish magazine. He must be well established. He must be great. And you can build up this reputation and constantly be in the front of people's minds that you are the go-to person for anyone that needs a decorator. And you start building an army of salespeople. Once you start helping people out and constantly being in front of them, they're going to keep you in mind. And every time any conversation in your local area turns to, do you know a decorator? Could you help with this? The first person anyone's going to think of is you, because you're always there. They're always seeing you. They're always thinking about you. And it's all about that brand awareness. Okay. So the next stage is following up. A lot of people don't like following up. They think it's nagging, it's hassling. I've got to tell you, it's really not. There is a saying in sales and marketing, and it's the fortune is in the follow-up. And we talked about this a little bit at the last stage with having constant brand awareness and using different ways to contact people and things like that. But essentially what we want to do here is, especially on a business to business, if we're looking to work with different companies, let's say week 1 we've called 50 people on our list, 40 didn't answer, 5 said not that interested, and 5 said, yes, send me some more information. So firstly, your first follow-ups are going to be the 5 people that said that they're interested and want more information. You're going to follow up with them as you promised. And this will be sending them an email. And it's not about, you've got to make sure that every contact you have with a potential customer is moving the sale on. Okay, you can't don't just send emails or ring them up and just say, oh, I'm just checking in, want to see how things are going or anything like that. Always be looking for an angle and a way you can move things forward. So the first thing you'll do is go, right, here's all my information and stuff. Great to talk to you. I'd love to come and introduce myself personally, and let's have a sit down and a chat and see if I might be able to help you in your business and the projects that you've got going on at the moment. Try and take it from, okay, we've spoken, we've had an email, now we're meeting in real life. And then you might have to do more follow-ups on top of that. So you might have a meeting and it might be that it goes really well, but then it goes quiet for a week or so. That's when you put a phone call in and you say, you know, let's talk about how we can move this relationship forward. Do you have any jobs coming up for that you'd like me to come and quote for? Again, it's not just calling to just check in on people. It's calling with an idea and a proper focus on how you're going to move the sale forwards. Now, a lot of people will think this comes across as hassling. It's really not, because every time you're contacting them, you are giving this customer some sort of value. And it might be, you know, people are very, very busy at the moment. You can, you know, call and email 10 times and they might only pick up or read the email 2 out of those 10 times. So don't be afraid to do it, you know, a few times. An average sales cycle in a business-to-business environment, you need to make contact 8 times before you actually get the business. So bear this in mind. If you're only making contact 3 or 4 times before you give up on a lead, you are leaving a lot of business on the table. So remember this and just stick with it. And the more and more you go along and build up the relationship, and you need to remember that large and big customers, especially in the B2B space, will take a lot more work, but once you're in, it's hugely rewarding. So it is worth following up and having the discipline to do this at this stage. Okay, now we've worked the list and we've followed up, we can move on to the last stage. And for me, it seems very simple. It seems almost too simple. But when people talk to me about they want to have bigger and better customers, a lot of time what they mean is they want more profitable work, and they want more rewarding work, and they want to do a higher quality of work. But not just that, they want to be appreciated. They want customers who value the skill and the quality of what they do. Now, one thing you need to do if you want to find customers like this is you need to be expensive. And this, to a lot of people, will sound very counterintuitive. You know, there'll be phrases that are always kicking around the painting and decorating industry of, you know, oh, you can't charge that much where I'm from. You can't get away with that sort of day rate from where I'm from. No one would pay that. There was a saying that there is no strategic value in being one of the cheapest. Now, what do we mean about this? If you are one of the cheapest, then you will lose lots and lots of work, nearly all of your potential work, to whoever is the cheapest. Now, the reason there is no strategic advantage to this is because you're not charging enough money extra to be able to serve that customer at a higher level. So most people, when they start pricing work, they think about, okay, what's the you know, a ballpark figure for pricing in my sort of area for my sort of what I'm doing, my product or my service, and they try and put their price in and around that area. There is no advantage to doing this unless you're going to be the very cheapest. There's no point being in that ballpark, because essentially when you're trying to be very cheapest or one of the cheapest, you are targeting price-driven customers, And these customers don't appreciate the value of what you do, the skill of what you do. All they are focused on is the price. And if you're not the cheapest, you're going to lose a lot of these contracts, because that's what they are. They're price-driven customers. So how do we counteract this, and how do we get better quality customers? Well, it's about being more expensive, and you know, don't be afraid to be markedly more expensive. Yes, it's a tougher sell, and yes, you won't get every job that you quote for. Your close rate might go down significantly. But to counteract this, we've done all the work before, so that we've got more and more leads coming in, and we can afford to be choosier on what we do. But what happens when you're more expensive? Let's say that the customer has two quotes. They have one quote that's £500, and they have your quote, which is £900. It's quite a significant difference, and the customer wants to understand why that difference is there, and why they should even consider you. Now, if they're a price-driven customer, they're just going to go for the £500. But if they're not, and they're still engaging you in the conversation, then you can say, look, I am not the cheapest decorator, and I don't want to be. My business works on the fact that I use the best quality materials, the best quality equipment, and I do the job to the best standard possible every time. I don't work to price, and I don't compromise my values. I only do the best possible work I can. Now, by charging £900, it means you can serve your customer at a much higher level. If you're charging that much more, you'll be able to spend longer on the job. You'll be able to use, like I say, better materials, better equipment. You will be able to deliver a finish and a service and a level of service that the cheaper decorator just cannot do. Because if they were to do that, they would simply lose money. So try to stop competing with those cheaper, lower end painters and decorators. If that's not your target, then don't even try and compete with them. Build your own niche at a more expensive end. And what's going to happen when you do this is you will then start building up the reputation of, yes, you're more expensive, but you are the best. And you will then start getting recommendations and referrals to other people who appreciate what you do. Now, this means that you're going to have a much better quality of work, and a quality, you're going to enjoy your work a lot more, because you're no longer working for price-driven customers. And price-driven customers, if the job's to a good standard or you've gone way above and beyond, the customer doesn't care. They don't appreciate when you go above and beyond, and they don't care if you've made very little profit because you priced it cheap just to get the work. They don't care about that. All they care about is the price, and that's why they pay late and they don't value what you do. And that will frustrate you. Of course it will. But when you start working for customers who you have made quite clear to this customer that you are expensive, but you are the best, and they've still gone with you, then you know that you're working for someone that truly values what you're doing. You'll get a much more satisfaction from the work, because you're doing the job exactly how you want to do it, with no restrictions and no compromise. And they appreciate that, and they are showing their appreciation, number one, paying for it, but they're also going to tell you how much they appreciate it, because you're going to be able to make these huge, brilliant transformations. So the simple point of just pricing yourself a lot higher will have a knock-on effect. You will start being a lot happier in your work. All the customers that you work for will value you a lot more, and you will then, we talked about building a reputation in the local area. What better reputation would it be to have the reputation of, you can hire Dave's Decorators, he's way more expensive, but trust me, he's the absolute best, and if you want that, then you have to go with him. You'll stop getting people asking for you to do cheap work, because they will know that you are expensive. it's talking about, you know, the difference between a Ford Focus and a Rolls Royce, and you want to be the Rolls Royce. You know, you can't produce a Rolls Royce quality car on a Ford Focus budget. There's a place for both of them, of course, but if you want to give that Rolls Royce service, you need to charge the money. And nobody walks into a Rolls Royce dealership and offers 10 grand for a brand new one, because they know, you know, that brand awareness, that reputation is there, and that's been built up. And this is exactly what you can then try and do with your decorating business. Build up that brand, build up that reputation. And if you apply all of these steps, then I truly believe that you can move your business up to the next level. And regardless of whether you go down the, you know, working for other businesses, or business to business on large contracts, large long-term contracts, or whether you start being choosier and doing higher end residential work, using these steps can absolutely work for you. I've used them myself over my whole career. I've pulled in the expertise from the rest of the Andura team here to give you this. Now, that's just about going to finish us off today. So just over half an hour. So like I say, I appreciate that if you're watching this live, it was during the middle of your day. So I really hope that you've got a lot of value from this. I'm not going to end it with a big sales pitch on Andura. All I'm going to say is that, you know, we manufacture a range of exterior paints and coatings. They're really good quality products. But what makes us different is us, and it's the way that we understand you and your business. So if you ever want to work with us, you think that we can help you, feel free to jump on our website, follow us on social media and stuff. We're always doing things like that. You know, we always want to try and help our customers to grow their business. And you know, as I was talking about being more expensive, we position ourselves as a more expensive premium product. And one of the reasons we do this is because we don't want to compromise on quality of products and quality of service, because we believe that you know, that truly is the best way to do a business. So, you know, it's not me just talking about these things. This is, we practice what we preach. That's exactly who we are and what we do. So thank you so much for joining me. I hope you've enjoyed this. I hope you've got loads of value out of it. If you've got any more questions, feel free to get in touch with us and we can help you with more specific queries and everything like that. Like I said, this is a pre-record, but I will be in the comments. So if you want to start putting some questions in now, I will do my absolute best to answer them all for you. Thank you again. Thank you. Cheers. Bye-bye.
Welcome back, everyone. I just want to say a massive thank you to Jon for putting that webinar together for us. Lots of really valuable information on how you can grow your decorating business. If you want to get in touch with Jon or Andura, Jon's details for Andura are all on the screen there. And if you didn't manage to take them down, then this will go live on our website as soon as the session finishes, so that you can pick up his details there. If you have got any questions for Jon, you can type those in the questions box. The session is coming to an end, but Jon is still live in here. And thank you ever so much, everybody, for joining us, and we'll see you again.